They say when you just know. I knew it the moment she looked at me, like I was the only man in the world worth lying to. Ethan never believed in impulsive love. He was a planner, the kind of man who read terms and conditions before clicking agree. But Savannah, she made planning feel like betrayal. Every minute not spent with her felt like a theft. From the first conversation at that dimly lit bar in Charlotte, it was as if she had already written herself into his story and erased the pages before her. She wasn't loud. She was intentional. Eyes that stayed too long, laughs that died too quickly. A beauty that wasn't just seen, but absorbed. And secrets, she wore them like perfume. Subtle, intoxicating, and gone before you could trace the source. Their connection escalated fast, maybe too fast. His friends noticed. His sister warned him, "There's something about her, Ethan. Be careful." But when you're starved for something you never had, consistency, affection, the feeling of being chosen, you ignore the red flags, especially when they're dressed in red lipstick and whispered dreams. By the second month, Savannah had moved in, not because he asked, but because it felt inevitable, like gravity. She had no family around, claimed she had cut ties with a toxic past in Mississippi. "I'm tired of starting over," she said one night, curled against him on the couch. "I just want peace." And Ethan offered her that peace in the form of a ring. But not just any ring. A ring he had inherited from his mother. A woman who spent her life trusting the wrong men until the wrong man left her with nothing. Ethan swore he would be different. Savannah didn't cry when he proposed. She smiled like someone who had expected it. Then she whispered, "Let's not tell anyone yet. Let's keep it just ours, just for a while." And Ethan agreed. Because love, real love, doesn't need an audience. They were married 3 weeks later, in a courthouse. No family, no guests. Just a sleepy judge, a paper bouquet, and 2 signatures that felt like lifelines. That night, she cried in his arms and called him home. He believed her. They had wine, danced in their socks, made plans for the honeymoon they couldn't afford, and fell asleep holding hands. The next morning, Ethan woke up alone. No breakfast smell, no footsteps, no Savannah. Just the echo of the front door, left slightly open, and a silence so thick it pressed against his lungs. At first, he didn't panic. Maybe she went for coffee. Maybe she just needed air. But hours passed. And then came the second betrayal. The joint account, emptied. His safe, missing the ring, the documents, the cash. Her phone, disconnected. Her social media, wiped. Savannah wasn't gone. She had vanished. But this wasn't just a woman walking away. This was a woman erasing herself from his life like she had never existed. And the worst part? No one believed him when he said they were married. Not even the court clerk who had signed the license. I married her on a Tuesday. On Wednesday morning, I became a ghost in my own story.
It wasn't just that she left. It was how thoroughly she vanished, like she'd rehearsed my heartbreak down to the minute. Ethan paced through the empty apartment like a man in a dream where nothing makes sense. Her toothbrush was gone. So was the vintage record player she loved, the one they danced to the night before. But what twisted his stomach was that she hadn't taken everything, just enough to make it look like she had never really been there. The apartment was still haunted by her scent, lavender and something citrusy, like betrayal disguised as comfort. He called her phone again, straight to voicemail. Again. A part of him still hoped this was some kind of misunderstanding, a mistake. Maybe she'd been in an accident. Maybe someone had taken her. But then came the real gut punch. The bank. Ethan logged in, almost shaking. The account they'd opened together a week before, with $17,400 of his savings, was completely empty. $0. No pending transactions, no fraud alerts, just nothing. He stared at the screen for nearly a full minute before finally whispering to himself, "She planned this." His heart didn't want to believe it, but his body, his gut, his skin, the sweat pooling at the base of his spine, already knew. Savannah didn't leave. She executed an escape. He rushed to the courthouse where they had married, showed his ID, explained what happened. The clerk pulled up the record, squinted at the screen, then frowned. "I don't see a Savannah Blake listed on the marriage license," she said. Ethan's chest tightened. "What? That's not possible. We were here last Tuesday." She turned the screen toward him. There it was, his signature, the judge's. But the woman listed beside him wasn't Savannah Blake. It was Miranda L. Harris. Different name, different birth date, same face, same smile in the scanned photo ID attached to the file. Ethan's knees nearly gave out. She hadn't just run, she had used a different identity. And that meant he didn't know who he had married. The spiral began. Ethan spent hours online, reverse searching the wedding photo he had secretly snapped on his phone. Nothing. He called the old number she gave for emergencies. Disconnected. He visited the diner where she used to work, or claimed she did, and found out no one by that name had ever been employed there. Days turned into a week. He stopped sleeping, barely ate, lost 10 pounds without noticing. He began doubting himself. Maybe he had imagined parts of her. Maybe love had made him delusional. But then, a spark. While searching through his emails, he found one from Savannah, or Miranda, forwarded from an old Yahoo address. Attached was a PDF from a women's shelter in Jackson, Mississippi. The logo was real, the formatting matched, and the name on the form? Savannah L. Blake. Finally, something real. Ethan called the shelter. At first, the woman on the line refused to say anything, but when he mentioned the name and the document, her voice shifted. "I remember her. She stayed here for 6 weeks, quiet, kept to herself. Said she was running from something." "From who?" asked Ethan. There was a long pause. "She never said, but she was scared of men, especially the charming ones." Click. The line went dead. "She didn't just steal my money. She stole my reality. And now I had to decide, was I the victim? Or just the next man in a long line of stories she had already rewritten?"
I thought I'd hit rock bottom, but rock bottom has layers, and hers were carved in lies older than me. Ethan's search turned obsessive. Sleep became optional. Meals became forgettable. All that mattered was piecing together the real face behind Savannah, or Miranda, or whatever name she had taken from the graveyard of abandoned lives. He started with the shelter in Jackson. He called again, used a different name, pretended to be a distant relative trying to reconnect. This time, a younger woman answered, less cautious. Yes, Savannah stayed here, but that was over a year ago. She left in the middle of the night, No goodbye, just gone. But she wasn't the only one. That sentence hit Ethan like a freight train. Not the only one. How many identities did she carry? He asked aloud to no one. He posted in private Facebook groups for survivors of emotional fraud. He uploaded a photo, wrote carefully worded posts, avoiding accusations that could be flagged or deleted. It didn't take long. A woman from Birmingham messaged him. Her name was Allie when I met her. She dated my brother, took $12,000 from him, disappeared the same way, no trace. Another message came in hours later. She volunteered at our church, said her name was Lena, took donations for a fake cancer fund. That was 2 years ago. Each new name was a knife, but then came the most painful one. I think she's my sister. The message was from a woman named Haley Dunmore in Oklahoma. They video called. Haley showed Ethan a childhood photo, same eyes, same mouth, a younger version of the woman he thought he married. Savannah or Miranda or Allie or Lena was really Alyssa Dunmore, missing since age 16. Their father had been arrested for abuse. The girls had been split into different foster homes. Haley had searched for Alyssa for years, but every lead ended in silence. She never wanted to be found, Haley said. She kept reinventing herself, always running, always alone. Ethan's voice trembled. I married her. Haley's face crumbled. Then she must have really trusted you, at least for a while. Ethan didn't know what to do with that. It felt like someone telling you the knife they stabbed you with was made of roses. She trusted me? Then why did she gut my life and vanish? Still, that revelation changed everything. She wasn't just a thief or a manipulator. She was a girl who had once been broken. So broken, she had to keep becoming someone else just to survive. But that didn't erase what she had done. The theft, the lies, the psychological vandalism. Ethan wanted answers, not sympathy, not now. He filed a police report, fraud, identity theft, marriage under false name. The officer was skeptical, almost amused. She conned you into marriage and emptied your bank account? The officer asked, chewing on a pen cap. That's not fraud. That's heartbreak. But she used false documents, false identity. Ethan pushed. The officer shrugged. Then maybe you should learn something about love in the 21st century. That night, Ethan sat in the dark staring at the last selfie they had taken together. Her head on his shoulder, his smile soft, hers unreadable. And now that he knew the truth, he saw it, the calculation behind her eyes. Not cold, just practiced. He zoomed into the photo, saw the reflection in her sunglasses, a street sign, partial numbers. Ethan fucked his heart joked. He pulled up Google Maps, traced every detail until he found it, a neighborhood in Atlanta, not far from the date the photo was taken. She had left him a trail, maybe not intentionally, but it was there, and he was gonna follow it. She may have rewritten her ma'am 100 times, but I would be the footnote she couldn't erase, because I wasn't chasing revenge, I was chasing the truth, and she owed me that much.
She didn't just vanish. She scattered clues, like someone who wanted to be found, but only by the right person. Atlanta felt heavy the moment Ethan arrived. The streets buzzed with noise, but all he could hear was her voice, fragmented, ghost-like, echoing in the spaces they once occupied together. He started with what he had, the street sign from her sunglasses, a laundromat nearby, a liquor store. He spent 2 days walking the block, showing her photo to shop owners and bus drivers, pretending to be her brother, her husband, her friend. No one recognized her. On the 3rd day, an old woman running a flower stand narrowed her eyes at the photo. She bought lilies from me twice, paid in cash, said she was helping a neighbor plan a funeral. When was this? Ethan asked, heart pounding. 3 weeks ago. She gave him a direction, 2 streets over, a low-rent apartment complex with a peeling blue sign, the Haven Arms. It didn't look like the kind of place you hide in. It looked like the kind of place you go when there's nowhere left to run. Ethan walked through the halls slowly, afraid of what he might find. At apartment 2B, he hesitated, then knocked. No answer. He was about to walk away when a voice behind him said, "She doesn't live here anymore." He turned, a young woman holding a toddler on her hip. "You looking for the redhead?" Name was Claire this time. Ethan almost laughed. Claire. Another chapter, another name. "Yes. Do you know where she went?" The woman squinted. "She left about 10 days ago. Looked sick, thin, like she hadn't slept in a while. She gave me this, said to mail it if someone ever came asking." She handed him a sealed envelope, no name on the front, just a wax seal, deep red. He opened it in his car, hands trembling. Inside, a single sheet of paper, handwritten, slanted cursive. "Ethan, if you're reading this, you came looking for me. I didn't think you would, but part of me hoped you might. I never meant to hurt you. That sounds cheap, I know, but it's the truth I can offer you now. I didn't marry you to con you. I married you because for a moment I believed I could stay. You gave me something I didn't know I could still feel. Safety. Real safety. The kind that doesn't come with strings or secrets. But I don't know how to live in safety. I only know how to survive it. The money wasn't the plan. I panicked. I saw everything you gave me. The home, the trust, the key to your heart, and I knew I couldn't hold it. So I did what I always do. I ran. I've spent my life becoming what people needed me to be. Sweet daughter, grateful sister, church girl, seductive stranger. I never had a self, only roles. And you were the first person who looked at me like I could be something real. But by then, I was already too far gone. I left the money in a safety deposit box under your name. The key is taped to the back of this letter. I didn't steal it. I just borrowed time. Please don't come looking for me. Not out of anger, but because I'm still becoming someone I'm not ashamed to introduce you to. Thank you for marrying me, even if it was all wrong. It was the only thing that ever felt right. A. Ethan read the letter 3 times, then once more. He sat in his car until the sun set, the envelope resting on the dashboard like a silent witness. She hadn't just left. She had tried to give him closure in the only language she knew, escape. But what struck him wasn't the apology. It was the phrase, "I'm still becoming someone I'm not ashamed to introduce you to." Somewhere she still saw him, still thought of him, maybe even still cared. But caring doesn't erase damage. He retrieved the key, went to the bank the next morning. Inside the deposit box, the full $17,400 in cash, the wedding ring, and a Polaroid, the two of them, blurry, laughing on that first night. He held the ring in his palm, not sure whether it meant the end of something or the start of something entirely different. She didn't just want money, she wanted a way out. And somehow I had become the exit sign in a building she was always meant to burn down.
I thought the worst thing she did was disappear, but the real betrayal was making me question whether any of it had ever been real. Ethan held the ring in one hand and the letter in the other, caught between two truths, the woman who had vanished with his trust, and the one who, in leaving, may have finally told the truth. He wanted to hate her. Hate was simple, clean, sharp-edged. But what he felt wasn't clean. It was messy, layered, almost unbearable. Grief, disbelief, confusion, and, maddeningly, something like love that refused to fully die. He could have walked away, taken the money, closed the door, chalked it up to a lesson. But that's not who Ethan was. He needed something else. Not revenge, not even closure. He needed her to know what she had done, not in words, but in presence, in standing in front of her and letting her see the damage in his eyes. So he kept searching. Not like before, not with rage or obsession, but with quiet determination. He traced the names she used, the shelters she stayed in, the community clinics she visited. A pattern began to emerge. She always stayed in places with no permanence, always vanished before being seen too clearly. But she left ripples, people who remembered her smile, her kindness, her sadness, people she had helped, old women she had fed. She wasn't just running, she was trying to be good in stolen names and borrowed time. It took 2 more months before Ethan found her, in a small coastal town in South Carolina, working at a thrift store under the name Emily Grayson. Hair dyed darker, thinner, softer around the edges, a little slower in her steps. She didn't see him at first. He stood by the window, watched her help an elderly man pick out a jacket. She smiled, genuinely. For a moment, he saw the girl he married, or at least the girl he thought he did. Then their eyes met, and everything in her face crumbled. She didn't run. She walked outside, met him on the sidewalk. No makeup, no lies, just silence.
"Ethan," she whispered. He nodded. "I found you." She didn't speak, didn't defend herself, and he didn't accuse. They sat on a bench nearby. The ocean was loud in the background, waves crashing like all the versions of themselves they had destroyed. "I read the letter," he said finally. "I meant it," she replied. "Every word." "Why me?" he asked. "Why did you marry me?" Her eyes filled, but no tears fell. "Because, for once, I wanted to be seen. And you saw me, even when I didn't want to be real." "And the money?" She looked away. I wanted to disappear before I ruined it, before you realized I couldn't be fixed." Ethan let that hang in the air. "I don't want to fix you. I wanted to love you. That's all." Her breath hitched. He reached into his coat and pulled out the wedding ring. "I'm not giving this back, not to punish you, but because it means something to me, and I won't let your story take that away." She nodded. "That's fair." He stood. So did she. They didn't hug, didn't kiss, didn't promise anything. She smiled, for real this time, a smile that carried the weight of someone still learning how to be a person. "Goodbye, Ethan." "Goodbye, Savannah." She flinched at the name, then nodded. As he walked away, he didn't feel closure, but he felt something better. Power. The power to walk away with his dignity intact and her ghosts no longer squatting in his chest. Not every betrayal ends in vengeance. Some end in understanding, painful, imperfect, human understanding. She didn't get to rewrite me. I got to decide the ending.
Some stories don't end with justice. They end with a choice. To carry the wound
or to let the scar remind you that you survived. Ethan didn't find revenge. He found clarity. And sometimes that's more powerful than punishment. If this story stirred something in you, if you've ever trusted someone who shattered your reflection, or if you've walked away from a love that taught you what not to accept, then this channel is for you. We tell real stories wrapped in fiction, stories where pain meets honesty, where betrayal is confronted and silence is broken. Leave a comment below. Have you ever forgiven someone who didn't deserve it, or walked away from someone who didn't think you would? Your voice might be the one someone else needs to hear tonight. Like this video, share it with someone still carrying questions, and subscribe for more stories like this. Dark, human, and brutally honest. We don't promise happy endings. We promise truth.